More than 15 young Cameroonians are currently stranded in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They are victims of false promises made by fraudsters who lured them with dreams of high-paying jobs. The stranded youths are pleading on the Cameroonian government to enable them return to their families. And away from that, we'll tell you how moral values seem to be taking a hit, especially in schools. Recently, videos of some students smoking hookah, popularly known in Cameroon as shisha, and others kissing while in their classrooms went viral on social media. What explains the rise in deviant behaviors in school milieux? What's behind this trend, and how can schools and also parents tackle this situation? That's what we are going to be answering in tonight's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure being here for you all, and for presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. A fisherman in his 30s in Limbe has died while fishing at sea. The exact cause of his death has not been established, but some witnesses suggest he had a malaise that morning while he had set out for his routine activity. Rexafon was at Down Beach in Limbe, where his body was brought and declared lifeless by a doctor. His report.
Is Eric, as he is widely known here at Down Beach in Limbe. Shocked at his sudden death, his friends watch his unresponsive mortal form with astonishment. This is the same man who left for the sea before their very eyes on Saturday morning.
People called me around 7 o'clock that someone has died in my beach, but not at the shore, at the sea. So when we sent people at the sea to go and investigate, they went there, they saw the man already dead with one of the partners that they went to sea together. So we wait them, and when they came back, then for our own investigation, we see that this man died in his own way, without nobody touched him, because maybe sometime he was traumatized by alcohol.
Some were curious about the bloodstains on one of his ears. Those who went to transport the body from the sea suggest it may have been the result of a fall.
When he fell down, because they sleep inside on top of the boat. So when it happens, that incident happened, there's not even incident. When it happened, when he get there, it fell inside the boat. That's make him to have problem on his ear.
A medical doctor has examined the body. Security officers are also asking questions to understand what could have happened to Eric, who was with his friend in the canoe for fishing before he died.
May his soul rest in perfect peace. And now to one of our major lead stories tonight. Cameroonians rescued in Nigeria's Ogun State after being lured by fake job offers are still waiting to be sent back home. They have been stuck there for months with no work and no change in sight. Despite promises of huge pay, Nigerian officials are working on sending them back, but for now, they are still stranded. We have details with Smagic and Gabriel.
I'm doing an image for 24th, Saturday the 24th January.
They are all Cameroonians who came from Douala, Ngarbuh, Widikum, Old Town, Babanki, Banjul, Njikwa, Mundemba, and Golo, with the aim of becoming millionaires in Ogun State, Nigeria.
All of you in Cameroon, are you? You in Cameroon? Which one you going to do for Nigeria?
According to one of the victims, I brought my younger brother here because I was told it was a nice business, but it was only after I brought him that I realized it was not a legit business. While in Ogun State, they slept on bare ground.
Boys in the state, see how they suffer. They will live in place. How many people do they bring from Nigeria? None, sir. None.
They were malnourished.
Their food is they don't cook share. They don't pan. One they answer better, they don't cook.
And above all, Many of them were forced to sleep in a single room. An operation that was carried out by security forces in Nigeria last Saturday, after they were tipped off by some Nigerians, enabled them to save these Cameroonians who were out for money. All of the Cameroonians rescued won't be kept behind bars, but are expected to be sent back to their country of origin.
And on to something else, reactions are pouring in after 4 individuals, including 3 members of Cameroon's defense and security forces, were found guilty in connection to the February 14, 2020 Ngarbuh massacre. The involvement in the massacre was established by the Yaoundé Military Court. Civil society organizations REDAC, Amon Avenir and Nouveau Droit are stressing the need for deeper investigations to bring all perpetrators to book, as Cedric Chakutio tells us.
Reactions are pouring in following results of investigations into the killings of civilians in Ngarbuh, a town in the northwest region of the country. In a note, the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, better known with its French acronym REDAC, Amon Avenir, and other civil society organizations advocate for justice where women and children were killed in an attack that occurred on the 14th of February 2020. This tragic event was followed by official investigations and legal proceedings on the 15th of February at the Yaoundé Military Court that led to the conviction of some of these members of the Cameroonian Defense and Security Forces, who were found guilty of serious human rights violations. REDAC and other civil society organizations say they take note of these convictions, which constitute an important step in the fight against impunity. They, however, reiterate that the government has an obligation in all circumstances to protect civilians and to ensure respect for international humanitarian law and human rights. They therefore call for investigations to continue so that all those responsible are identified and appropriate sanctions are imposed. Furthermore, they demand adequate reparations for the victims. They also strongly condemn the latest killings of the Bororo community in Gidado, Northwest region on the 14th of January 2026 and call for an investigation to establish the facts so that the perpetrators can be brought to justice before competent, impartial and independent courts. These organizations finally call on the Cameroonian government to respect the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Maputo Protocol on the Protection of Women, and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Children. It should be noted that the Ngarbuh affair was adjourned until February 19, 2026.
Ngoketunjia division in the northwest region is sinking under the weight of falling road infrastructure. National Road number 11, the main artery linking the division to the rest of the region, is rapidly deteriorating, leaving transporters stranded and passengers frustrated. From the treacherous Sabga Hill to the streets of Ndop, frustration is mounting as the division ranks among the lowest in the region for public investment budget execution. Authorities now promise a turnaround in the year 2026 with stricter monitoring and sanctions as residents call for roads that can sustain farming, businesses and equally everyday movement. Details with our Northwest Chief Correspondent, Bo Stella.
Ngoketunjia Division, one of the economic gateways of the Northwest region, continues to struggle with poor road infrastructure. The National Road number 11, linking the division to the rest of the region, is fast degrading, leaving transporters stranded and passengers forced to disembark mid-journey. This is the Sabga Hill, one of the most dreaded stretches on the highway. Drivers say it is barely passable in the dry season, a situation expected to worsen once the rain set in. In all, Ngoketunjia has been at the bottom of regional rankings in the execution of public investment budgets.
The main reason behind this failure is the hide and seek practice of holders, especially those who control a large chunk of the delegated investment credits in this division.
To curb these practices, administrative authorities say the execution of the 2026 budget will mark a turning point with strict monitoring and sanctioning.
As a chairman who oversees the execution of public contracts within my division, will be constantly in the field to compare the reports which are presented and what has been effectively realized in the field. And we should say heads will roll.
On the streets of Ngarbuh, all the population want is an enabling environment for business, farming, and daily life.
And now we talk something else. Moral values have been on a steep decline lately, especially in educational institutions. It's commonplace to find students exhibiting deviant behaviors publicly in classrooms. Educationists say parents too must do their homework alongside the school authorities to reduce such atrocities in our schools today. Anna Bila, staff lady, has more on that.
Le fait d'être géniteur ne fait forcément pas de vous un parent.
Moral decadence, a deep ill plaguing today's society. Young people, especially students in schools across Cameroon, seem trapped in this era in which moral values are steadily on a decline.
Students come with drugs to school, shisha, tramadol, and
shocking pictures of girls and boys in schools in uncompromising positions, puffing smoke from their nostrils. Some smuggling hard drugs into school campuses abound lately. The causes, pedagogues say, vary.
That's what we call in English peer pressure. Age mates. You know, we are in this, we can say, modern world, this Android generation, where children see things and they want to copy, not knowing the impact. Some of them take shisha for fun, but it has impacts that they don't know.
The school administration most often is overwhelmed. Teachers say they try to conscientize these youths on the imminent dangers of their present actions. But that is not enough. Parents must also play an active role in their children's day-to-day lives.
Inform the parents on their children's behavior in school. After that, because children are not supposed to just to be condemned, the disciplinary council pass on the students to the counselors, the school counselors, who work on their psychology to see if they can transform them. And if it is beyond repairs, that's when a report is done to hierarchy.
Recently in Gaundere, a delinquent student who exhibited a wayward behavior in class was outrightly expelled. The school fears such students might pull others into more deviant behaviors. That alone seems not to be a definite solution, according to other school administrators.
We call the parents, make the parents first of all to know what their children do in school. They work with us at home. They try to see if they can try to even to limit the type of friends the students, their children work with at home. Then give them counsel. And by doing that, we also do our own here. So it is a partnership type of a thing. It's not just the school. The parents too also help us. We invite parents to counsel and take care, follow up their children, what they do, where they go to.
At the government bilingual high school in Bepanda in Douala, discipline is the watchword and must be so in other institutions.
Apart from the disciplinary department, everybody is involved in Bepanda where it concerns discipline. They first of all take time to search students at the gate when they are coming in. We have the task force and spies that inform the administration when they get students with unwanted items in school, talk of drugs.
A psychologist, Dr. Sumo, explains that besides the negative effects of social media, moral education must be taught with rigor and vigor in schools, because educating the brain without educating the mind only produces clever devils and wise demons.
Les repères au plan de l'éthique sont perdus.
Staff Lady Annabella reporting there. Now we talk health. Stroke-related deaths and disabilities are surging in Cameroon, with the town of Limbe in the littoral region feeling the impact. To counter this, locals are turning to a powerful ally, which is nutrition. A week-long campaign led by experts like Dr. Cedric Ngeye is highlighting how diet can be a game-changer in preventing stroke. More with Lord McNero.
Stroke, a silent killer, claiming lives in Limbe, the Mungo littoral region of Cameroon. Once thought to be a disease of the elderly, is now striking young and old alike. To counter this, Dr. Cedric Ngeye, a nutritionist, has impact on educating the masses on the power of healthy eating habits as a preventive measure. Stroke is becoming constant and very dangerous, almost like epidemic. This pushed me to do some research to understand why it happens and how to cure the sickness. These women are being edified on eating habits to prevent that cause stroke and those that prevent stroke in the seminar by the group of medical experts in Limbe. We also advise to consume more fruits because it brings very important elements in our system. We are very happy because we acknowledge what kills us slowly. We are called to reduce stress, alcohol, maggi and sugar. In case we consume all these substances, we grind garlic and onions in a bottle of water to clean this away. The women are now looking forward to impact in practice what they have acquired in the seminar to share with others. Medics says prevention is better than cure.
The report done by Lord McNero ends this first part of the news. Talking Point comes up next. Cameroon's Ministry of Higher Education is reopening PhD programs in 11 state universities for the year 2025-2026 with stricter admission rules. 600 slots are available with quotas of each university. Requirements include a research master's degree and a 12 on 20 average. The state covers supervision costs. That is, students will have to pay the sum of 50,000 francs annually. This follows a 2-year suspension due to concerns over supervision and research quality. A slashing PhD sports, a step forward or a backward leap for Cameroon? We'll be having answers in tonight's edition of Talking Point. And my guest tonight is Samah ABANG MUGWA. He is an educationalist. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
It's my pleasure, Immaculate. Good evening. Good evening to you and the Equinoxe family. It's actually been a while, but I'm glad I am back.
Samah ABANG, PhD admissions were suspended for 2 years in Cameroon. What's your take on the government's decision to resume the PhD program?
It's a long-awaited decision because the suspension was an embarrassment to the nation as a whole. As of the over 190-something countries in the world, Cameroon was the only country which was officially not offering terminal degree opportunities to its youth and its citizens. So it was a welcome decision to uplift the suspension. But I must add that it was a long overdue decision. So it was actually much welcomed by me, like millions of other Cameroonians.
The quota for PhD admissions have been reduced to 600 across the 10 state universities in Cameroon. How do you view this reduction?
Immaculate, please permit me say that ever since that communique announcing the putting in place of quotas for PhD admissions was made public, I have not stopped saying RIP to PhD or higher education in this country. By that I mean I have not stopped saying rest in peace to higher education in this country, because it is, let me be a bit more harsh, it's not only an ill-thought and ill-fated strategy or mechanism put in place, but it is one whose overall effect and consequence will be to kill higher education in a country that very much needs expertise at the level of higher education. At a time when we think that with the creation and the expansion of the higher education space in Cameroon, government was offering an opportunity for its citizens, both youth and adults, to benefit from the opportunities and the benefits that higher education offers. It is a backtracking and a very ill-conceived one for government to rather institute quotas by limiting access to higher education. Whatever justification they may have, which they have not clearly given us as citizens, I think it is an ill-fated decision. It is a decision that will shoot the development plans, if at all there is really a development plan of this nation, in its foot. It is an auto-destructive, a counterproductive decision.
Why you think the decision is counterproductive? We have observers who say the reduced quota is aimed at ensuring better supervision of PhD students' research work. How do you respond to critics who say this decision prioritizes what they qualify as quality over quantity in PhD admissions?
And you need to convince me why that argument has to be limited only to PhD degrees, whereas we equally have overcrowded classrooms from basic education level to secondary education. I am a teacher in the secondary education system. I teach in a school where instead of the standard 55 to 60 per class, I have 120, 115, 130 something students in class. Nobody talks about quality of supervision at that level. Nobody talks about the quality of lessons taught at that level. We have amphitheaters for undergraduates, which are equally overcrowded. Nobody talks about that. The quota system is not extended to master's degree admissions. Why only with PhDs? Why only with PhDs? I think that it is a lopsided argument, a lopsided reasoning, which does not expose to us the realities on the ground, which we are aware of. I do not think the aspect of quality of supervision is the main reason or the only reason or one of the justifiable reasons for government to take on this initiative. Maybe I may be wrong, but we saw the suspension of admissions into PhDs instituted in this country. That suspension was instituted at a time when PhD graduates took the government hostage and twisted the government, asking the government to recruit them into universities on the basis that they had terminal degrees, that they had PhDs. As much as I didn't support, I didn't buy into their argument and their reasoning, but I think that the strategy taken by the government to first of all suspend PhD admissions and then now introduce the quota system, the restrictive quota system, is motivated by the desire of the government to ensure that what happened 3-4 years ago when it was held to ransom by PhD holders does not repeat itself.
What could be the long-term effects of such a decision in our educational system in some years to come?
And Immaculate, he who talks about research talks about higher education. He who talks about research talks about PhD and terminal degrees. We don't talk about research at at undergraduate. So when you stifle research, you stifle your fight towards emergence. When you stifle research, you stifle innovation. When you stifle research, you stifle national development. And so when you restrict access to PhD, you have restricted access to research and innovation and eventually growth, national growth. And in the next 5 years, we would have, the floodgates would have been open for PhDs from Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Niger, Benin, Seychelles, Cape Verde, and all of those other countries where access to higher education is liberal, even to foreigners. Before the open liberalization of higher education in this country and the creation of 11 state universities, a majority of our PhD holders, especially those who were lucky to be the founding fathers of the University of Boya, more than 70% of them came from Nigeria. And that is the decision we had. Because access to higher education, to access to PhD in this country, for Anglophone Cameroonians particularly, have been stifled by administrative hold-ups at the level of the Lone Yaoundé University at the time. When the University of Boya was created, a majority of its lecturers and staff came from Nigeria. But over the years, from 1993 till now that the university has existed, it has been able to train its own indigenous researchers and lecturers. At the time when we think that the university now has, even at its helm, the registrar is an alumnus of the university. At the time when we think that we should be having at least 80% of our own indigenous self-trained researchers, products of the university, manning the university, we are now stifling it. In the next 10 years, we'll go back to the pre-1993 situation. That is how dangerous it is.
And what alternative strategies would you like to propose to improve PhD programs in Cameroon State universities?
So, my first suggestion to the government would have been institute real fees of even 500,000 francs, and citizens who are willing and able to pay will pay, rather than restrict access in terms of numbers, numerical access. Secondly, before coming online, Immaculate, I did a research. Next door, Nigeria has 172 private full-fledged accredited universities. 172 privately owned and managed full-fledged internationally recognized universities owned by private investors and churches. 172. How many do we have in Cameroon? Apart from the Cali University for Central Africa, how many do we have? In next door, Nigeria, they have 72 federal universities. Universities owned and managed by the federal government. 72. In next door, Nigeria, they have 68 state-owned universities owned by the 36 states of Nigeria. How many do we have? 11 state universities and 1 private university, and a bunch of university institutes which do not have what it takes to confer even a first degree. What stops the government from further liberalizing and expanding the university space by allowing private investors, religious organizations to create full-fledged universities, so that when the government cannot absorb, when the government cannot manage numbers, the government alone cannot provide education satisfactorily. We have seen that from kindergarten to secondary school level to professional level. I expect government to open the market for the creation of more universities, either private or faith-based universities.
Samah ABANG, thank you so much for accepting my invitation on Talking Point tonight.
It has always been my pleasure, Immaculate, and I'm always at your beck and call. whenever you need me, let me know, and I would. And I always make my little contribution towards nation building. Congratulations to you and the Equinoxe family for the marvelous work you have done for the past almost 15 years.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we saw it on tonight's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Have a wonderful evening in the company of interesting programs. Stay with us as you will stay in the company of the best of the best.